All right, guys, welcome, welcome, welcome. Looks like we're live on Facebook today too, which is a treat. We haven't done that for the last couple of times. So Debbie, you're broadcasting around the world right now.
Okay, awesome. We love it, love it, love it. And then Monica, we want to make sure they have opportunities for questions as we go, right?
Of course, of course.
Do you want me to stop every couple of minutes, or you just want to wave at me and say, I've got a question here? How would you like to do that so we can let them get all those great questions out?
Yeah, I'll interrupt you with questions as we go, or if I have one that I'm, feeling might be something people are thinking about. Usually people are a little shy. We're trying to get them unshy. So, we hope they participate, but I say you just go and I'll kind of interject if that's okay.
And maybe as we get started here, if they want to go ahead by chance, if there's something they just came on their mind, I hope I get this question answered today. Please feel free, guys, to type that in. And then that way Monica can send it my way and we can make sure that we do that for you. So
you got it.
Monica, with all of that being said, you ready to kick us off, or how you want me just to take it away?
Let's do that. I have some housekeeping that I want to do before I introduce you officially. So let's go ahead and do that. Welcome again to another Espresso Agent webinar, the Mastery Webinars. I'm so happy you're here, and congratulations for taking an hour out of your day for some personal growth. I mean, I love that you're learning based, and I love that you take time and put it in your calendar and make it happen, especially when we have a guest like Debbie Grote, where you can actually learn from somebody that's been in the trenches and has succeeded at a very high level. It's not every day that you have access to a free hour of Debbie's. I bet if I followed you around, Debbie, you don't have a lot of free time in a day. So, so we really do value time. So, housekeeping items. As you'll see, you all you participants are on mute. That does not mean we don't want to hear from you. Au contraire, we do want to hear from you. The reason we put you on mute is for your listening pleasure. Because if you have 20, 40, 50 people on a webinar and all open mics, it's quite annoying. So we've muted you, but we have chat buttons and the Q&A, and I would love your questions as we go. If I can interject them at that time, we'll do that. Debbie's already said she's open to being interrupted through the process. If not, we'll circle back around at the end and make sure to get all your questions answered. So, even if it's not quite about geographic farming, you've got Debbie for an hour. And we want to learn from her. And here's the thing with these things, guys. You know that you're going to grab 2 or 3 great nuggets to take back and implement in your business. Not all of this is going to be for everybody. Not every sentence that she says is going to be something you're going to go back and implement. But there's going to be a couple things that could really change and alter the trajectory of your business. So we're looking forward to those. Now, Espresso Agent has a couple things I wanted to mention because I don't know if every user knows about this. First of all, Espresso Agent has a partnership with Cole. I don't know if you guys know about Cole. They're a source of neighborhood data. They're kind of the industry standard, very great reputation. And with your Espresso Agent subscription, when you first join, you get 1 month free of Cole, and then you can go month to month with Cole as an add-on, which you can't do outside of Espresso Agent. It's really kind of a nice bonus. Also, they have partnered with a new company called, or it's not a new company, it's new to the partnership is new. It's called Everybody Answers. Debbie, are you familiar with Everybody Answers?
I'm not, but I'm very familiar with Cole. So almost all of our clients use them. My family uses them. Perfect. But I'm not familiar with Everybody Answers.
Everybody Answers is a premium neighborhood search. I mean, you're going to get qualified, verified emails. It's the Cadillac. And Espresso Agent has brought that partnership too. So if you want more information, go into the website, espressoagent.com/everybody-answers. Everybody-answers. It's a great add-on, especially as we start heading into the 4th quarter and we really need to put our head down and turn over some stones here, right?
Right.
Okay, now I'm going to introduce Debbie Grote. very happy to have you back on the Espresso Agent Mastery session. Debbie is the CEO and founder of Excellium Coaching and Consulting. Is that the formal?
That is correct.
Okay,
that
perfect. And she's basically a rock star, and in the Los Angeles and Orange County area in her early 20s, was doing 150 deals a year. And luckily has built this coaching company to pass along some of the things she's learned out in the trenches. So Debbie, welcome back. And today we're going to talk about farming, right?
Absolutely. And speaking of having been in the trenches, I was a geographic farmer for my entire career. It would probably accounted for at least 25% of my business, at least.
Wow.
And I had 80% market share in my geographic farm. And I would say, though, as we start out today, in reality, that with the access to information that our consumers have today, I don't believe that it would be fair to set up an expectation that you would go into a geographic farm today and have 80% market share.
Fair.
What I see some of the best farmers in the nation fighting to maintain is about a 30% market share, which is still quite profitable.
Mm-hmm.
My husband, Don, has been in the real estate business for over 30 years. He still farms geographically. I think he took 3 listings yesterday from his geographic farm. When my daughters got into the business, I said, you need to have a geographic farm. So I do believe that for most agents, it is a very stable cornerstone of your business.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, as Monica said, it's not for everyone. And so it's not my intention to sell you on doing it, just to give you the reality of what it actually takes to do it well. And then you can make that decision. And Monica, of course, there's different types of farming. They could farm a geographic area. They could decide to farm a group of absentee owners. There's all sorts of resources where they could farm like divorce filings, or they could farm probate. So there are different types of farms today, though, and we can talk about those at another time if you'd like. But for today, we're just going to stick with the geographic farm only. Okay.
Perfect.
So, one of our companies, one of our coaching clients, I want to share with you just their story a little bit, because I think agents here might be able to borrow from this. If you look up Stanfield Real Estate, so Sean Stanfield is the team leader of this particular team in Huntington Beach. They do over 750 million in volume a year. Wow. And they are a team, not a real estate company. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, in Huntington Beach, the average sales price that they work is over $1 million. But I wanted to share how Sean developed that dominance and developed his farm. See, he grew up in an area called Huntington Harbor. But when he got his real estate license, and he was in his early 30s, just like for many of you, there were those dominant players in that market that controlled that farm. They had a stranglehold on that farm. And Sean knew he wanted to work that area, but he didn't have a massive budget to try to go in and blow them out with massive marketing. So what he did instead, which was very smart, is he picked off their expired listings. Now, one by one, he would go take that expired, he would get it sold. He gained the reputation of being the guy who got it done. Mm-hmm. Now he had some revenue to begin to market into that farm, and he had a track record. Now, of course, because I'm part of a real estate family, we work with great agents across North America. I realize we've not had a lot of expired listings.
True.
But we are starting to see more. We're heading into a new cycle. There will be more. That's an awesome opportunity for all of you watching, and a great way to spring into your farm. In fact, when I took on my first geographic farm, the first 3 listings were expireds. And then I claimed the farm and began to market to it, especially if you want to break into a higher end area. We always have a saying, it's better off to be the firstborn, the second wife, and the second or third agent on a high end expired listing, right? Because they're kind of crazy out of the gate. So if any of you are watching and you have teams, what Sean has now done is carved up all the neighborhoods around their office location. Each team member has been assigned a territory. So they're out there like an army. Boris Kolodov, another great farmer. Boris nets $2 million a year. He's in downtown Toronto. He farms 10,000 homes, but keep in mind, he started small, and over the 14 years, he built his way up. In the coaching with Boris, we worked with him on his marketing, his market share. So he spends about 200,000 to market. He nets 2 million. So pretty darn good return. So you can see, you know, if you look at these top agents across the country, you'll see pretty consistently most of them have a geographic farm. Mm-hmm. Now, Monica, I want to make sure they all know we've got the free gift for them today. I've got a full report which will cover some of the things we may not have time to cover today. And also if you're saying, oh goodness, I can't take notes fast enough, some of it will be readdressed in that free report. And we're going to send you something really cool, and it's actually very simple to put together, a marketing business plan. So if you're choosing your geographic farm, how are you going to connect? Who are those people? What type of information would they want to hear? What is your budget going to need to be? So it'll make it easy for you to create a little template of what your plan's going to be. And then at the end, out of respect for this terrific opportunity to be in front of all of you, the deal I have with Espresso Agent is if you have remaining questions that you don't get answered today and you'd like to speak to one of my coaches who are all experts at Geographic Farm, among many, many other things, we'd be happy to arrange a complimentary strategy session for you, no strings attached, and we'll show you how to get that at the end. Nice. So we'll talk about how to select the farm, the bulletproof marketing strategies, and then really how to shine as that market expert. Right? So we should probably start off with, why is it called farming? Well, think about it. You choose a piece of land, you prep and work the soil, which is really your marketing, you water and tend it. And that's really your personal connection. Now, I was a door knocker. My husband's a door knocker. It fast tracks the results, but that's not for everyone. It's also not permitted in every area. Mm-hmm. You know, if you, for example, we have a client that farms a high-rise in Manhattan in New York, and they can't door knock, but they do have something they call elevatoring, where they basically, I didn't tell them to do this, bribe the doorman, get in and ride the elevator up and down at the key times of day, saying hello to all the neighbors, right? That's awesome. So the attending it could be also doing a community event, mm-hmm. being on the homeowners association, or participating in an event at the school where it's right near that neighborhood, or even when you're doing open house, having a sneak preview and inviting the neighbors. So the tending it is really making those connections with the people in your farm. And it could be using Cole's Realty Resource or your new service to reach out via phone call, via email, maybe even creating a Facebook group for that farm, a Facebook page. And one very popular thing is targeted Facebook ads, making that a custom group and running your Facebook ads, offering educational resources to the farm. So you want to think of it like dropping a web over that farm. Mm-hmm. So is it for you? Well, I find that for people who really want to build ways of getting business that's not high rejection, farming is a great way. Just like working your sphere, working your networking groups. But there is some rejection in the beginning because we have to earn that relationship. You know, when I first got into real estate, guys, I was 18. I walked into the real estate office, and on a desk, there was a little statue. And it was one of those kind that you go to Color Me Mine and paint, right? And it's a little guy holding a sign. Painted on the sign was this: you got a farm, it won't do you any harm, and it might even give you a charm. Well, I said to the broker, what is that? Why would there be a statue about farming in a real estate office? He said, Debbie, get in the car. So he put me in the car. He drove across the street. There was a neighborhood. My broker's name was Alan. And as he drove me through the neighborhood, there were about 10 or 12 for sale signs. in that neighborhood of about 500 homes that had his name on it. Mm. And he said, get out of the car. So I got out of the car. He had these 5x7 cards, one for each home. He said, come with me. And he knocked on the doors. And he's like, hey, Mary, how was your daughter's wedding? Great. Well, hey, is she going to need to buy a house? Perfect. Have her call me. You know, he's going door to door, talking to these people. They love him. Hey, I got lemons for you. Here's a cookie. Have some tea. You know, he was just super efficient with that farm, and it built great relationships. And I thought, okay, this is for me. I like this. Well, I picked a farm. First day I went out, I sat in the car and cried for a little bit because I was pretty nervous, right? Yeah. Then he had given me some scratch pads. I tossed them at the door and ran because I was afraid to knock. He sent me back out. I knocked, but I knocked so quietly that a lady came running down the street and she's like, honey, honey, honey. I'm like, oh no, she's going to be mad at me. She said, honey, if you're going to sell anything, you have to knock a little louder. Oh. So that was kind of my entrance into farming. But then after that, I actually knocked my Geographic farm twice a month. I mean, I knew everybody, everything. And it's not just a feeder. I'd like you all to think about it this way. Yes, we want to make sure we have enough turnover in listings taken out of that farm. But if you set yourself up right in there, you'll get their referrals as they move out. You'll get their referrals to their friends and family outside the community. You'll be holding open house and getting sign calls. You'll be double ending things. So there's lots of ways to make money in that farm, and you really want to tap in to all of them, right? Mm-hmm. And Monica, this is the number one reason farmers fail. They're not consistent. And that's why I would say to all of you, put some thought into this, because if you're not going to do it right and you're not going to be consistent, you'll be annoyed, you'll waste time and money. So then don't do it, right? But if you're going to do it, you want to set up a strategic plan, and you want to think about running this machine of farming as a system.
How long should they plan to farm? What is the minimum amount of investment and time for it to have a chance to really work?
Great question. So typically, I find that in most places in the country, they need to farm at least 2 marketing pieces a month, okay? Now, I say in most parts of the country, because there are some parts of the country, nobody farms. And the areas are wide open. You know, one of our clients, he was outside of Seattle. Seattle's hyper aggressive, but he was about 45 minutes outside of Seattle. Nobody farmed this particular area. Nobody had any dominance. He does 1 piece a month and gets most of the listings, right? But that's not typical. Usually going to need to do 2 pieces a month. You can mail them both, but of course there's the cost of that, which we can talk a little bit about in a minute. But if you're a door knocker, you can also knock and drop them. If you're in a hyper aggressive market and you're trying to gain quick dominance in a farm, you may need even more frequency, or more frequency at times of year that are more likely to be the hot turnover. Mm-hmm. You know, I used to do a postcard a week in my farm. So I hit them 4 times a month, and then I door knocked twice a month. So they were getting something from me 6 times a month.
Wow.
And yeah. And now things were cheaper then though, Monica, right? It was a lot less costly, and we didn't have to do pieces as nice because the expectation of the consumer was different. But I do remember getting a call from a lady, and she said, Debbie DeGroat, all over my house. Take me off your list. I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. But about 60 days later, she called me and said, come and list my house.
Exactly.
I was so shocked. I said, but wait, you hate me. She said, well, who the heck else would I call? Like,
oh,
good. Good.
I love it. How big was your initial farm? Rocky wants to know.
Okay, great question. I started with 500 homes.
Okay.
I grew it eventually to 1,300. My husband currently has about 750 in his farm. I find kind of that magic number is around 500. Now, it's not to say you couldn't take a smaller farm on. But if you did, you might want to be able to choose where you can grow into an adjacent area.
Mm-hmm.
So you could have 2 or 3 farms in 2 or 3 parts of the city or town, but if you can leverage that signage and be close. So like I took 500 here, and then there was a street, like a little bit of a busy street, and on the other side was another 750 or so. So when I'm holding open house, teeing off of that street, both neighborhoods are seeing my signs. Right?
Okay.
But the size will also be dictated by your budget. I'd prefer they go smaller and more frequent than bigger and less often.
And how important do you think the 1-2 punch of the mailing and the door knocking combo is versus what a more shy agent might just want to do is the mailings? How important is that second punch of the door?
Again, it kind of depends on your market. But most markets, if you're not going to make that personal connection, it's going to take you a lot longer to get traction in the farm, and you're not going to dominate or control it the way you would if you're meeting them in some fashion in person, right?
Got it.
And when my husband got into the farm, he got into real estate after I did. And I told him, well, here's the way it's done. And he didn't know any better. I said, you have to door knock twice a month, go through once in the morning, once in the late afternoon. So you're hitting different people at home. He did it. And in his first 30 days, he had his first listing. So it just fast tracks it. Right?
Great.
Now, here's the number 2 reason that people fail in farming. They're not strategic. So I'll give you a couple of examples really quickly and easily of what I mean. So there are neighborhoods all across the country that are beautiful and amazing, and everyone would love to buy a house there. But the big problem is nobody ever moves. Okay? So it doesn't matter how great of a farmer you are or how much money you spend. If those people aren't moving, if that turnover is low, you're not going to get a good return on your investment, right? Now, what's the proper amount of turnover? Well, as much as possible, but a good guideline to look for is at least 4 to 5% a year. So in other words, if you took 1,000 homes, did 40 homes go on the market in that last year? It's actually pretty tough right now to hit that number, to find that 4 to 5%. So I'm not saying you'd rule out a farm that was 3%, but you'd want to look at what do I feel is that future potential. If it's a 1% turnover, go back a year, go back another year. If you see a consistent pattern there, then it may not be a good farm, right? Condos and townhomes, while you can't door knock them, they are fairly good farms typically because you will see often more turnover in those. And Monica, for many people here, they could connect with their local title rep, and a lot of the title companies have great farming data where they can even help you identify the hot spots in your market.
And then you co-brand with them?
The title company, I don't know, would necessarily co-brand with you, but I'll tell you who does happily typically co-brand with agents is lenders.
Sure.
Because for a lender, they can get a really great return on that, some terrific visibility. They just have to follow all the typical compliance rules, but they will often be willing, if you're running the machine of getting all that out there, co-brand and pay 50% of the cost, which is a perfectly great way to go. So we want to choose wisely and carefully, and then we also want to study any competition that we have in that farm. So if there's just a mixed bag of a few agents getting listings here or there, but if there is 1 or 2 more dominant competitors, what do they do? Because then I know I'm going to need to do it better. What I often see with veteran farmers is that they have become maybe a little bit passive. You know, they've been in there for a long time. They're used to getting the listings. They probably aren't door knocking. They may not be mailing with the frequency. When I took over the farm that I did, You know, at 18, I wasn't really smart enough to study my competition. But now looking back, there was a lady, I remember her name, Sylvia Wilder from Tarbell. Her signs were all over the neighborhood. I took that farm away from her. Now, the way I took it away from her is she was mailing randomly, not on any predictable pattern. My frequency was very strong, and she had never knocked a door. And see, I was out there knocking the doors. It didn't take me even a year to take that away from her. But now let's say though, you studied the farm and you go, ooh, okay, so Sean Stanfield is in this farm. Who is Sean? Oh my gosh, he's a $750 million a year producer. He's got massive marketing machine, massive marketing dollars, huge domination. Maybe I can't take this Goliath on. You know, maybe I need to go to the farm across the street. And when you get strong farmers like my husband, who's been in his for 30 years, he and Sean, they actually enjoy a challenge. When somebody comes in, they feel like it causes them to step up their game. And quite frankly, Don will just double his budget. You know, he'll double his budget, he'll double his door knocking. And I got to tell you guys just a quick funny story. There was an agent that came in and decided he was going to take over my husband's farm, started mailing and knocking. And the neighbors, he was not a nice guy either. I hear he was quite rude and arrogant. The neighbors called my husband, several of them, and said, we told him to go away.
I love it.
This is Don's neighborhood.
Yeah.
So we haven't heard anything from him.
Ah, that's so good. That's great.
So really, when you think of it, it's a geographic sphere of influence. That's really what you're building. And that's why I said, once you get past that initial rejection, that they don't know you, you have to earn and build that relationship. It becomes very easy. It really is just like going to see some old friends. So it actually becomes quite easy. So this is what it's going to look like when we send you this marketing plan. So you'll select your methods of contact. You'll select how you're going to engage. You'll talk about your budget. The other thing I would really encourage you to look at is the demographic of that farm. Agents often waste a lot of marketing dollars because they don't know who lives there. So for example, if it's a farm that's predominantly younger families and I'm doing a mailing piece that's, is it time to downsize with distinction? I'm wasting my money, right? So if you think about in good marketing, A, audience. I have to know who is my audience. B, what is the bait that my audience will bite on? What do they want to hear about? And then C, what is the channel in which I will deliver that? So that might be the mailing, that might be the knocking. So ABC, your audience, your bait, and your channel. What people often do is they go, oh, I have my bait, my marketing piece. But is that appropriate for that particular audience? So who lives there? That's why a great way to figure that out is door knock or hold some community events and actually meet the people in the farm. And we want to choose that marketing that's entering the conversation in their mind. And of course, it's never going to be a perfect science. You may have move up, you may have downsizers, you may have a variety, but you want to try to hit those hot buttons. So in a program that we have for our coaching clients called the Inner Circle, one of the things that we provide for them is educational resources. And you guys are welcome, you know, to borrow from our titles here and try to put your own guides together. What I want to caution you on, though, is if you notice, it says educational resource. That means it's not a gimmicky marketing piece, right? So we want to set you up as the wise advisor in that area. And each of these guides, just for point of reference, they're 25 to 50 pages long. They have worksheets, they have valuable information. Now, what we don't have our clients, coaching clients doing, they're not printing 25-page guides and passing them out to every neighbor. That would be insanely expensive. but they're using the postcards that we've created for them to offer the guide. When the client requests the guide, now they deliver the guide to them. But if you just look at some of these topics, these would be examples of needs and conversations going on in their mind. You know, I'm getting a divorce. How do I maximize my equity? You know, should I sell it for sale by owner, or should I professionally market it? I don't know, I'm renting here, but should I buy a house? How do I find the right agent? How do I buy an investment property? But see, a lot of what is sold to the agents, Monica, as good marketing is a waste of their money. So I'll give you an example. No names named, but there was a coaching client came to us recently and hired us, leaving another company. And they said, well, you know, they gave me a marketing piece to send out to my past clients. And it was a black and white letter. And it said, we must ard, and it had a package of mustard stapled to it, catch up with a package of ketchup stapled to it.
Oh no.
Well, this is a client working a high-end database, not a good marketing piece.
No.
So here's another example of a marketing piece. Please don't do this at home. It's time to change your clocks. You know, I see that in my neighborhood. I always get somebody that sends a postcard that says that. Guys, it's not going to hurt you, but it's not going to set you up as a wise advisor. It's not good bait to get them to raise their hand and say, yes, I'd like more information. They're going to figure it out on their own. And it could cost you like $500 to send that postcard out. What a waste of money. In fact, this last time, Monica, that they changed the clocks, I did get one in my farm or in my neighborhood from a local farmer, but he sent it 2 days late.
Oh no. Oh my God.
It was really effective, right?
Yes,
So,
he needs your coaching
and
program.
here's really the reason too, guys. I want to fire you up for a couple of reasons here about farming and farming effectively. There is a lot of disruption going on in the real estate industry right now. And here's what I mean by that. Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com. I mean, they're not the enemy. They're just running their own businesses also. But they have figured out that you will pay more for seller leads than you will buyer leads. So they are attacking the seller market. They are algorithmically and strategically going after these sellers in the community as their first point of contact. So working your database and sphere effectively, staying top of mind as the wise advisor, getting out and establishing a geographic territory where you are viewed as the wise advisor, that's one of the ways to disrupt the disruptors. See, I was at an event recently. I was actually sitting next to the vice president of Zillow, who was also speaking at that event. And he said to me that what annoys them is the fact that when a consumer knows an agent, trusts an agent, and has a rapport with an agent, no matter what Zillow does to take them away, 85% of the time that seller goes to the agent they know and trust. So
wow, that's great information.
Yeah. And right out of the mouth of,
right.
So the point being, it's a great way. Farming is one of those great ways to increase that range, reach, and influence in a community. Okay. So we'll take a couple questions if you have them there, because I'll just put up here on the screen, what are some of the different ways to connect? We said community events, door knocking, sneak preview at an open house. One of our agents they call it muffins and mimosas. So they have a 10 to noon special neighborhood event at their open house, and then they have their public open house after that. Again, targeted Facebook ads, phone calls, lots of different ways. Just be sure if you're doing community events or you're involved in the board of the association, stay on the fun side of that. You don't want to get in the weeds of things that become controversial, because then you're going to alienate potentially half of your farm, right? So before we move forward, any questions?
Yeah, I actually have a question. Could you share with the group maybe some community event ideas that you've seen that you thought had punch to them?
Absolutely. And in fact, if we go back to the previous slide, so in this Inner Circle program we have for our clients, we actually did create for them 8 or 9 completely done for them event kits. And what we did, one of the kits, well, I should say there's 2 types. One type would be fun, and the other type would be education.
Got it.
Okay. So for example, part of those events we created for them was the move up event, the downsize event, the rent versus own event, and the investor event. So we have those 4 kits completely done. But then we also gave them, and these are great ideas for those watching, the family photo in the park event. And, you know, things like concert in the park, even pet photos. People love to do that at Halloween, dress up their pets. You know, photos with Santa. You know, when you think about things that are easy to arrange, low cost, and attracts, you know, that demographic in your community. And we always encourage them, joint venture with partners. So for example, my husband did the family photo in the park event for his Geographic farm. He partnered with a local photographer that was very popular, and he partnered with a local lender that was very popular. So not only did they all share the cost, but they also shared their marketing the event to their database, right? So now he's meeting people that the lender knows, he's meeting people the photographer knows. It's a warmer introduction. And those types of events that are fun events, easier to get people to attend, less likely to pick up as many leads out of them, okay? Because they're coming for fun, but you're getting exposure, you're meeting them. On the educational events, the conversion is quite high of pulling great leads out of those events. They're just tougher to get people to them, right? So if anybody watching today, we actually did, Monica, a whole webinar on how to put on community events, which we can do for you in the future if you'd like, but also if they want to email me, DebbieDegrote@gmail.com. So Debbie Degrote, DEGROTE @gmail.com. I'll be happy to share that whole event webinar, because that's a really good way, especially for those who are too shy to door knock.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, perfect. Thanks for sharing those.
So you need to be a market expert. And what I mean by that, I'll give you an example. There's a neighborhood not far from where I live in Long Beach called Naples. Some of you may be familiar with it, Long Beach, California. It's a waterfront area, and there are canals, like Naples canals. You know, it's a very cool neighborhood, higher end area. So let's say you were going to farm there. Okay, well, you would, of course, want to know what are homes selling for, right? So what's the sales data? But that alone would not make you a market expert. See, you would need to know things like on the Gold Coast of Naples, the water is very deep and you can have bigger boats. If you're on the canal, there are certain canals that are open water, you can get a sailboat in, but if it's under a bridge at high tide, you sell a house to somebody with a sailboat, they're gonna be stuck. They can't get under that bridge. So point being, you wanna know everything about that community. Development that's coming, services supporting the community, construction. I was talking to someone yesterday, great agent in Florida, and she was talking about how one island, it's pretty open in terms of the building code, but another island that she serves, it's almost like a nature preserve, and you can't do much of anything there. But see, those are all things you'd need to know to be that local market expert. So you really want to take some time, and then every listing that comes up, yours or otherwise, every FSBO, every expired, you got to be all over it, right? So we want to set them up as the wise advisor. You know, when I first got into real estate, and some of you watching this, you remember these days, we had the keys to the kingdom. We had all the information. The consumer had zero. So we would take our comparables out on a little piece of paper, handwritten, because we didn't have computers then. And that was the gospel. Well, now please know they've already gone online. They've already checked all those real estate portals. Before you go on a listing appointment, before you go out farming, you should be looking at that as well, because even though it's not accurate, at least you should be seeing what they're seeing. Knowledge. You know, if all of us today said, I think I'm going to hang up this webinar and I'm going to Google how to perform open heart surgery, we could get knowledge. We could get information, articles, medical text. However, it doesn't mean we should go operate on a loved one because we're lacking the wisdom. And I do think agents get discouraged by the fact that, well, they can get knowledge, they can check their values, they can get answers. Why are they going to need me? Because somebody has to put it all together. Somebody has to be that wise advisor. So as you're putting your marketing pieces together, I want you to certainly share reviews that you give great service and do a terrific job. But think about it this way. If we visited the website of a major law firm, we're not going to see all about their service. We're going to see experience, expertise, and results. So when you're looking at a marketing piece, don't copy the neighbor next to you because they probably don't know what they're doing. Instead, look at, does this piece showcase my experience, my expertise, and my results? Because if not, 80% of your marketing dollars will probably be wasted. And I used to do pumpkins and these cute little forget-me-not seeds, and all that stuff is still out there. I want to say again, it's not going to hurt you. It's just not going to build that presence of the wise advisor. And my marketing guru and partner on the inner circle, the marketing inner circle we have for our clients, he always says, I hear agents say, Debbie, yeah, but it gets my name out there. He said, but I don't know, I'd rather have money in here in my pocket, right? So be cautious, guys, of how you use those dollars and make sure it's setting you up as that wise advisor. So Monica, I wanted to be sure we allowed a lot of time for questions, and I'm just trying to backtrack and see if there's anything I forgot to share. One thing, well, actually two things come to mind. One would be EDDM, every door direct mailing. So one great way to save money on postage is go down to your post office and talk to them about every door direct mailing. It's actually even less expensive than bulk mail. So if you use bulk mail, you have to have, I forget if it's 225 or 250 in a zip code, which you would have that in a farm. But every door direct mailing is about 17.5 cents. So it's way cheaper.
Wow.
It's based on the postal carrier route. So the actual mailman route. So if your farm is here, the mailman route might be a little bigger than your farm, might overlap another area, but you still may be better off to do that because it still actually may be cost effective and you're mailing to more houses. So
that's a huge tip. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, that's a big one. Now, you can't put the homeowner's name on. I think it just has to say homeowner. They don't care.
Is that okay? Yeah, okay.
They don't look at it. In fact, sadly, as they're going to the trash can, they're looking at our marketing piece. But one thing that is very popular in Geographic Farms, we actually provide this for our coaching clients to use, is a newsletter. You know, I write every month a 4-page full color newsletter that our clients can edit and add, you know, different content if they choose. But even though it is a burden if you have to create your own, one thing about a newsletter, they will tend to keep that around for a bit longer, but it shouldn't be all hardcore real estate. You want to have maybe home improvement tips, fun facts, good books, you know, kind of a variety of information, but always at least one feature article that sets you apart as that wise advisor and has a call to action for them to reach out to you for some type of educational resource. Lenders love that newsletter. They'll often write an article in it and then co-brand on the back of it. And that's a great way to get the cost offset.
That's a good idea. Question, what was my question? Hold on, it was right there.
Okay.
Oh, early on you said, we talked a little bit about frequency and 2 times a month, great, 4 times a month, even better. How long would you recommend somebody stick with the process before you can really feel like you're getting traction? Is it 12 months that you really kind of need to commit to this process?
It could be a year to 2.
Okay.
But I wouldn't accept that I'm not going to make any money for a year to 2.
Well, sure.
But for you to really have dominance, it takes some time. It does, because you have to get your sales success. You have to start meeting and greeting those people. But my goal is I want to make money as fast as possible. And that's why in your marketing messages, in your conversations with the homeowners, you'll probably want to mention the fact that while you do specialize in that farm, you also work a much broader area. In fact, I'll have my husband a couple of times a year at least put out a postcard in his farm that says, I can get you where you want to be, whether you're moving across the street, across town, or across the nation. Call me first. Another client of ours says, I'm licensed in the state of California. Now, he doesn't really want to do all the business in California, but he's trying to make the point, don't fence me in just to that farm.
Yes.
And when you're talking to the homeowners, let them know you would appreciate their recommendations to their friends and family, right? So we want to extract as much from that farm as we possibly can.
So that brings up a question. I sense that, like anything, this is all about coming from contribution and really showing up as the expert in the way of sharing knowledge that is of value to them in various ways. When is it okay to go to that well and draw from it after you've been filling it up enough, where you are actually specifically asking, who do you know that's making a move? Or is this more just continue to just show up as the expert?
I would never go out and door knock without having a theme to ask for business.
Great.
So I literally suggest that you have a 12-month calendar and you pick your theme for each month. So it's mix it up, right? Because I'm not going to go out and knock on Monica's door every day and say, Monica, or every month, are you ready to move?
Right.
First of all, I'm going to get to know her. I'm going to know she's not ready to move. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to ask her that question a couple of times a year. But I might go out and my theme might be, Monica, have you ever thought about buying an investment property? Or I might go out and have a theme, Monica, I've got this great rent, is it better to rent versus own consumer guide. Do you have any friends or family that are struggling with that decision and might need some help? So I'm going to go out and think of a new theme, not a brand new one each month. If you have 4, 5, 6 different topics of conversation and you just cycle those through again. But yes, I am always asking for something because they know why you're there. Right. But you're giving content, and in exchange for that, they may be willing to raise their hand and say, yes, I would like more help.
That makes sense. Well, and what you just did there was what a lot of agents overcomplicate, and that is you're just asking questions.
Right.
When they just say, I don't know what to say, I don't know what to say. Don't say anything. Ask questions. Come from curiosity and get information, and then you can show up for them in a better way, better light.
And you can certainly, when you have the educational resources like our clients have, I tell them, if you know that homeowners live there a long time, say, I've got this really cool consumer guide on how to downsize with distinction. Would you like it? Well, we're not thinking about moving right now. Oh, I know, but would it be helpful? Well, yeah. Well, if you ever were to move, when would that be? So conversation, questions, you're looking for those leads and pull those to the top, nurture them. But the rest of it is just going to be continually driven by your marketing machine. And what's really amazing is the area that I used to farm, when I left the business, my husband didn't have time to take that farm on, but we extracted the people I knew best and continued to mail to them. And I have been running coaching companies and then now my own for a total of 20 years. And my husband took a listing just a week ago from that old Geographic farm of mine.
That's awesome.
Right? So kind of
they live on.
Yeah. So last couple things real quick, guys. Number one, you see on the screen, if you're interested in speaking to one of the coaches because you have some questions, you think you might like the help of a coach, they are not a salesperson on a boiler room floor. They're 20 to 40 year veterans. They're very quality people. They're not going to hard sell you. At the end of the conversation, if you feel you have an interest, you ask them, how does coaching work? And they'll talk to you about that. So it's very easy to book it, www.businessstrategycall.com. We're very methodical about this process. So when you book it, you'll get a call from Gary on my team. He is not a salesman. First thing you'll do is you'll get an invitation to book into Gary's calendar. That'll be a 10 to 15 minute conversation. He's customer service. He'll ask what you need help with. Because if he asks what you need help with, he may be able to say, actually, I've got this resource for you, totally free, here you go. Or, based on your questions, I think I need to get you to this coach because they understand that type of situation. So please watch for the link to Gary's calendar. Please take his call because then he'll get you to that right coach. So last thing, if you do buy email addresses, if you do use a service that has phone numbers, all great stuff, just remember, check the opt-in laws in your own state because we don't want you to get in trouble because you're doing it incorrectly and you end up, quote, spamming someone and then they get upset with you. Florida is actually very tough. Florida, both Florida and actually Canada, I think you got to opt them in like 3 different ways. It's different for everyone. It also just depends on your tolerance for risk. You might say, hey, let it fly. I'd rather go do it and pay the fine. But I would just, caution you to be, again, strategic about your approach. Those tools are awesome and so valuable. Just plug them in the right way and have your whole campaign and strategy set up. So for example, if you do a community event and people register or attend, be sure on your form they're giving permission for you to opt them in to your marketing. So lots of different ways to do it. We just want to do it the right way. All right, so Monica, I think that's it for me. If you have any other questions, fire away. If not, we'll let them all go.
I think we're good. This has been good information. I feel like farming is making a resurgence. I know maybe in your mind it never actually went away, but for me, I see more agents kind of diving into it. So I think this was perfect timing on this.
Perfect. All right, guys. Well, we look forward to talking to you soon. And thank you again, Monica and Jennifer and everyone on your team that was helpful to us.
Thanks, Debbie. Appreciate you and appreciate everyone that attended. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.